is Nature Magazine, and Nature Magazine is a wonderful, magazine. We've got their last year, their last year, uh, telling us what's been happening there last year. So,
Nice.
okay, so here we go. The story, let me make sure I have it where you can see it. Okay, so this is Nature, and they have the biggest stories of 2022. And we're going to start with their number one: Russia invades Ukraine. And the global science community was really quick to condemn Russia's invasion of Ukraine in February. Research organizations moved fast to cut the ties with Russia, stopping funding and collaborations, and journals came under pressure to boycott Russian authors. The situation escalated when Russian forces attacked Europe's largest nuclear plant, Zaporizhzhia, in March, prompting fears of a nuclear accident. Russian troops continued to occupy the power plant, and since the invasion began, thousands of civilians have been killed and millions displaced. Many others, including scientists, have fled the country. And by the way, Jennifer, if you want to type anything, I'll just put your comment right up on the screen, okay? Because so the war has affected research in space and climate science, and that's what I'm going to click to right now, because it is the year in Nature Magazine. So we are seeing the articles that they had published all year. So this was from July 27th, and it was 7 ways the war is changing global science. And it's showing people, evacuees leaving Kiev. And so I'm just going to go really quick. In March, there was a plasma physicist at the Taras Shevchenko National University of Kiev. She fled Ukraine for the Netherlands. So that's probably what has happened. This was from July, and it's just showing pictures, but it's really the research. So we'll look at the different research ties that Poland is Ukraine's largest research partner, according to its share of authorship on Ukraine's internationally collaborative papers. So basically, that was a big thing, and I'm not going to sit here and say to you, okay, Russia's the pariah. It's not the people. It's not the Russian people. It's political. It's the United States. It's our dipping our toes too much in the water with the NATO deal. We kept poking, and there's, two sides to the story. Everybody knows I don't exactly like Vladimir Putin, but not for the whole political thing. I don't like him because he wants to destroy the Arctic. They just want to go through. They want to take those icebreakers through, and they are hoping that there are not going to be icebreakers needed. They're cheering on. They're giving the good old applause for global warming. They're saying, "Oh boy, we just won! Yay! This is Russia going, yes, Arctic melt! Yay! They want the Arctic to melt." Okay. So that's really what's happening here. In just 5 months, it's killed thousands of people. And let me make sure I have the right article up. Nope. All right, let me go back. All right, we'll go back to okay, here we go. So the war, it also disrupted the field work, and it played a significant part in the global energy crisis. The invasion could also precipitate a new era for European defense research. Lovely. Just like we need so much more defense research, right? Oof. And then we have the James Watts, the astronomy. Okay, the James Webb, not Watts. James Webb, the space telescope. This is the second story. So we'll get off the boring, upsetting, awful war, and we'll talk about the James Webb, which is absolutely, it's really exciting. It's the most complex telescope ever built, and it reached its destination in space in January after decades of planning. And in July, astronomers were awed by the first image. So let's look at the first image. All right, let's go down, find it. Where is it? Well, I guess they didn't have the first. Oh, is this the first image? Look at that. Yeah, Jennifer, is that the first image? Just shake yes. Yeah, very cool. Very cool. It is. It was decades of planning, very much so. And they have been able to see thousands of distant galaxies, thousands in the constellation Volans. So since then, the $10 billion observatory has captured a steady stream of spectacular images, and astronomers have been working feverishly on early data. So let's look and see again. Oh, this is nice. Let's look and see the whole thing, pictures of this, and let's go through some pictures. Aren't they beautiful? Look at this. This is really amazing. So this was a big story. This was a huge story because astronomy is fascinating, and that's beautiful. Jennifer, I'm going to have to use some of these for the background for us. Yeah, absolutely. God, I wish I knew what was going on. Clouds and cliffs. So one of the most dramatic scenes unveiled in the telescope's first image release was the sparkling landscape in Carina Nebula, about 2,300 parsecs, which is 7,600 light years from Earth. 7,600 light years from Earth. Wow, wow, wow. Look at the orange clouds. Look at these pictures. I mean, these are insane. A star is born. Hidden at the center of the blazing hourglass is a hot clump of gas on its way to forming a star. I'm just going to get this closer to me. Forming a star. And look at what we can see. Here, the gas and dust are clumping together, forming an accretion disk that appears as a small black band at the center of the image, and the protostar embedded within illuminates clouds of gas and dust that blow outwards on either side, forming that hourglass shape. So this is like way cool. Way cool. And this happened this year. And Nature is a really good magazine, and they really do have beautiful things to share. That's why we picked this as the only article for the night. And this, look at this, the ring planet. So the ice giant Neptune. Look at the pictures. It's so awesome. I can't get over it. The ice giant planet Neptune takes on an otherworldly appearance as it floats near its usual moon Triton, which is in the top left. So, wow. Look at that. I hope you guys are enjoying this. I know it's not exactly, of course you want to hear my Jennifer. And then we have, this is a phantom spiral. This is the star-filled heart of the phantom galaxy pops into view as one preeminent space telescope gives way to another. As seen by the Hubble Space Telescope, the galaxy displays classic spiral arms winding outwards, and in the infrared view by the James Webb, and details the emerge in the gas and dust of the spiral structure, with the star cluster at its core shimmering in blue. That galaxy lies 10 million parsecs away in constellation Pisces. Holy moly, look at that. I love it. Oh, and it changed color too. So as you were looking at it, we could change the color. Oh, wow. That's awesome. That's really awesome. And the next one, look at this. I'm glad we at least picked a look at this. This was a cosmic cartwheel. And this is also we're able to be seen. We can see this stuff. And you can see that the red represents areas rich in hydrocarbons and other compounds. Overlaid are X-ray data from NASA's Chandra X-ray Observatory, mostly in purple. So we'll just look at it. Let's just go, oh, isn't that beautiful? Yeah. Nights like this, I really wish this was wine and not vitamin water. Jennifer, go get a drink. All right, so here's the another one, Stellar Nursery. And so we're just going to go down and look at these. They're just amazing. And we're going to go back. Oh, dusty rings. At least 17 rings of dust encircle a massive binary star, 18 parsecs away. So we're learning our little ability to look at some of these pictures, and I'm sure nature is going to have more on it. So they had, it gives a little bit of background, and it talks about AI now. So we're going from the telescope to AI. And you think if we have all this AI, we can't fix a goddamn microphone. AI predicts protein structures. So researchers have announced in July that they used the revolutionary artificial AI network AlphaFold to predict the structures of more than 200 million proteins from roughly 1 million species. Holy crap. Covering almost every known protein from all organisms whose genomes are held in the databases. So the development of AlphaFold netted its creators at the London-based AI company DeepMind, owned by Alphabet, one of this year's U.S. $3 million breakthrough prizes, which is the most, one of them lucrative awards in science. And Alpha, they're not the only player. Meta, Facebook. Facebook's a player. They've developed their own. And we've all seen that, putting on the kids are now going to just be putting on their headsets and never leave the house or get any exercise. They have it called ESM Fold, and they used it to predict the shapes of roughly 600 million possible proteins from bacteria, viruses, and other microorganisms that have not been isolated or cultured. Scientists are using these tools to dream up. Absolutely, they're using them to dream up all kinds of dream up proteins that could form the new basis of drugs and vaccines. So AI is, I guess, it's here to stay until we're not here anymore, right? What do you think, Jennifer? Go like, yeah? You think? Yeah, she knows it's here. On the next one was monkeypox. Now, to me, before I even read it, monkeypox should never have been called that because it was very confusing, and there were many different things it could have been called, but of course it confused a lot of, people in America anyway, because right away, monkeypox, you think about monkeys jumping around in Africa, and it wasn't quite that way. So the rabbit, and look at what it looks like, the rapid global spread of monkeypox, renamed Mpox. Thank you. Mpox, thank you very much, has been confined to Central and West Africa, but from May this year, infections started appearing in Europe and the United States, Canada, and many other countries, mostly in young. Now, this is not true. We've moved on. It's not just middle-aged men who've had sex. It's not just sex on men. It's touching skin. Whatever. I think they're probably going to say that. So, as cases soared, researchers got to work trying to understand the dynamics of this disease. Studies confirmed that it is repeated skin to skin contact, and trials of possible treatments got underway. Existing smallpox vaccines were used to suppress the virus in some countries. So, 6 months after monkeypox infections started, or Mpox, started increasing, vaccination efforts and behavioral changes seem to have curbed its spread, and you don't really hear much about it right now. So let's move to the moon. The moon has a revival. Now look at that. The moon has become a popular destination for space missions this year. First off the launch pad was South Korea's Donuri probe. Let's look at that. Let's see if there's any picture. That's all about there. Nope, there's no picture in that, but it's pretty cool that South Korea is taking part in the space programs, and they're expected to arrive at its destination in January, I guess 23, and orbit the moon for a year. The mission is the country's first foray beyond Earth orbit and is carrying a host of experiments. So this should be pretty cool. And last month, NASA's hotly anticipated Artemis program, which aims to send astronauts to the moon in the next few years, finally kicked off with the launch of an uncrewed capsule called Orion, a joint venture with the European Space Agency. As part of a test flight to see whether the system can transport people safely to the moon, the capsule flew out past the moon and made its way back to the Earth safely this month. So I guess here it splashes down, and I don't even have a splash noise. It splashes down, and the engineers will learn a lot from it, but see how they picked it up? Look how cool that looks. That's what they picked up. And I wish I had well, at least, okay, they picked it up. Boom, they picked it up. All right. So that's great. It is designed to carry people. So next we've got climate change funding. But not until I finish another one really quick. The lunar spacecraft made by a Japanese company launched this month. This is the iSpace M1 lander, aiming to be the first of several private ventures to land on the surface of the moon next year. I'm not sure. Private just now makes me think of Elon Musk. I don't know. And I'm not sure private's great, but they're gonna do it, and the lander will carry 2 rovers, one for the United Arab Emirates and another for Japan's aerospace space's exploration agency, JAXA. So the rovers will be a first for both countries. So that's pretty cool. Let's see what you guys are talking about. How you doing in the chat? Good? All right. Let me continue, because obviously we're not going to have a long show if I can't get my beautiful Jennifer to be able to hear her. Now, climate change funding. This is Pakistan, and we have done shows on Pakistan, and we talked about what happened, and we showed you what happened. 1/3 of the country was underwater. So there were many reasons to feel despondent about the United Nations Climate Change Conference, COP27. You think, Jen? Go like this. Yeah, there's a lot of reasons to feel like, well, I don't know if I feel despondent more than I figured that was going to be the case, right? Yeah, it was going to be the case. But an agreement on a new loss and damage fund, which is what I reported on, that was a good thing, was one bright spot. The fund will have low and middle income countries to cover the cost of climate change impacts, such as catastrophic floods in Pakistan, which caused more than $30 billion of damage and economic losses. But calls at COP27 to phase out fossil fuels, they were blocked by oil-producing states, and many blamed the lack of progress on the energy crisis sparked by Russia's invasion of Ukraine. High natural gas prices have led some European nations to rely temporarily on coal. Global carbon emissions from fossil fuels are expected to hit 37.5 billion tons this year, a new record. The window to limit warming to 1.5 to 2C above pre-industrial temperatures is disappearing fast, and it might have even passed. And this was from November. And this is Nature's article that had talked about everything. They were talking about the short-term outlook and some good news about renewables. But the commitment report, this was showing you that of nearly 200 nations that are party to the 215 climate agreement, more than 50% have since strengthened their commitments to reduce greenhouse, but it's not enough. It really isn't enough. I mean, truthfully, it's like too little, and it took too long. But we have shows on COP, many of them this year. So if you haven't seen them, you can visit them. And Paul Beckwith also, he was there. And if you want to learn about it from the people that are in our sphere, watch our videos or Paul's. He had a couple. Now, the next one is Omicron's offspring drive the pandemic. Omicron and its descendants dominated all other coronavirus variants this year. The fast-spreading strain was first detected in southern Africa in November of 2021, and it quickly spread around the globe. From early on, it was clear that Omicron could evade immune system defenses more successfully than previous variants. And that meant that vaccines are less effective. So throughout the year, a diverse group of immune-dodging offshoots of Omicron has emerged, making it challenging for scientists to predict the coming waves. And I do listen to virologists, so it is always an interesting subject for me to learn about viruses and how vaccines work. It's sort of a little pet, not climate change, pet project that I like to learn about. Vaccines based on Omicron variants have been rolled out in some countries in hope that they will offer greater protection than the previous jabs, they call it. But early data suggests that the extra benefit is modest. Guys, there's a doctor, he's in Boston, I believe. His name is Paul Offit, and he has some very good takes on the Omicron, the bivalent vaccine and all. I find him to be very reasonable, Paul Offit. So if you want to find something by him, maybe I'll put a link in. I find him to be okay, Paul Offit. He wasn't a fan of the bivalent, for everyone. And he was looking at the data issue. All right, so we see that it could evade. So throughout the year, it just kept making new ones, and we've seen them. B1, BA5, all those different variants that we've seen if we're following that. These vaccines, let's hope. We'll see. In September, China and India approved a needle-free, and by the way, all the virologists don't call it COVID-19 anymore. They call it SARS-CoV-2. It's just, I guess they have a little pet peeve about the naming conventions. But they said that they are working on vaccines that are delivered through the nose or mouth, and many similar vaccines are in various stages of development. All right, well, Here's one that I think is a little, maybe it's a little magical thinking. Maybe it's not. I mean, we've seen valves for pigs, but, maybe it is. Okay. So in January, U.S. handyman last year, David Bennett became the first person to receive a transplanted heart from a genetically modified pig. A crucial first step in determining whether animals could provide a source of organs for people who need them. I don't know. Bennett survived for another 8 weeks after the transplant, but researchers were impressed that he lived for that long. Given that the human immune system attacks non-genetically modified pig organs in minutes. A few months later, 2 U.S. research groups independently reported transplanting pig kidneys into 3 people who had been declared legally dead because they did not have brain function. The organs weren't rejected and started producing urine. Researchers say that the next step is clinical trials. That one's a tough one for me. I mean, it is because I don't know. Like Singing Way says, animal agriculture is a giant, a giant petri dish for new variants and illnesses. And the only thing we can do is wait and see, and one of the things that I know is we can't stop the research. I mean, every kind of research is going to go on for as long as it's funded. And if somebody finds value in using animals, and believe me, animals are used for so much more than you know. I mean, there are deer farms that extract urine from females just for the hunters so that they could use them to try to lure the bucks. It's quite disgusting. I think that should be illegal. But I do have one good thing to say, Jennifer. You might like this. New York State has signed into law that it is now illegal to sell breeding pets at pet stores in New York State. No more. And pretty soon breeding is going to go away. In New York State, I am really proud that we are not, we are trying to curb the breeding facilities that hurt animals, and it's good. It's a really good thing. So, I'm very happy with Kathy for that. My governor. All right. So elections and science. Let's see. Luis. Yeah, I like this one. Da Silva was elected president of Brazil, which is absolutely wonderful. I think that is definitely applause worthy. So yay. Okay. We got rid of Bolsonaro. Yay. Thank you, Jennifer. Okay. We got rid of Bolsonaro. All right. So national elections in Brazil, Australia, and France brought relief for many researchers. After 3 years of science damaging policies under right-wing Jair Bolsonaro, Brazil narrowly elected leftist labor leader and former president Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva to lead the country in October. Scientists are hopeful that Lula's return will result in a desperately needed, boost to research funding and greater protection for the Amazon rainforest. If it's not too late, there's still some things I'm seeing that are going on in Brazil that, are disturbing, but we just wait and see. So, French researchers were buoyed by President Emmanuel Macron's victory over far-right candidate Marie Le Pen in April, and the election of Anthony Albanese as prime minister in Australia in May was seen as a good thing for science and climate change too. In China, Xi Jinping, he cemented his legacy with a historic third term as the head of Chinese Communist Party. He has placed science and innovation at the heart of his country's growth strategy. Growth. That's the ugly word. That is an ugly word, the growth strategy. In other nations, it was not clear how research would fare under the new leaders, such as Giorgia Meloni, the far right candidate elected as Italy's first prime minister in October. You can only hope, but they don't usually have a science, first attitude. It's too bad the first woman had to be far right. Science was not a priority for the United Kingdom's 3 prime ministers this year. 3! Although they have retained previous commitments to raise research funding. After Boris Johnson resigned, Liz Truss was in the position for 7 weeks before she too resigned, and the current Prime Minister Rishi Sunak took over. And what I'm going to do is I'm giving Britain the good old toilet flush of the day, because they flushed 2 away. Are we waiting to see what happens with the third one? Yeah, he's not so exciting either. All right, so this week, conservation and political leaders are attempting to finalize. This is the global biodiversity. What was that, Jennifer? We had been talking about COP15, and it's underway in Montreal. A new biodiversity treaty known as the post-2020 Global Diversity Framework has been delayed by more than 2 years because of SARS-CoV-2 pandemic. Progress towards an agreement has been slow, and the deal looked under threat when negotiations stalled over financing during international talks in Nairobi in June. Financial pledges from some nations to support biodiversity helped discussions to move forward, but estimates suggest that $700 billion is needed from the U.S., our country, to annually protect the natural world, which is a very good investment. At the meeting, delegates will hopefully agree on targets to stabilize species declines by 2030 and reverse them by mid-century if it's not too late. If we weren't spending and sending billions of dollars over to that war, it just feels like maybe we're going to have another endless war. And no matter how we feel about the leaders, it's just here. It's happening. And it's not stopping. And if we don't do some kind of negotiation in person, then Ukraine's going to be leveled. It's just going to be leveled. And we need to sit down